a hot summer, I like this. Okay, I think that everybody's here. So before explaining the buildings, just wanted to say something about the way they built them. You know that the city's built on islands, 118 islands, 118, connected by 400 bridges. So when you cross one of them, you're moving from an island to another island. Okay, so we're standing on an island. Below here, land, but soft sand, mud. How could they build on mud? You know what they used? Trees, tree trunks, wood pilings down below in the mud over the islands. There's no oxygen in the mud. No air, no water, so no oxygen. The wooden pilings turn into stone. They petrified and they support the weight of all the buildings you see in Venice. So they're very close together like a wooden platform. Above them, wooden planks, just to keep them tight together. On top of the wooden planks, stone on top of the stone, the buildings in brick. So if you look at the buildings, you see that they're not very tall because of the foundations. And most of the bell towers we have in Venice are leaning a little bit. Some of them are leaning a lot. We have a lot of leaning towers of Pisa in Venice, you see. They're leaning, why? Because of the tall buildings. There's one on the way, you see. That one is leaning a lot. But all of them, also the one behind you, you see it's leaning a little bit because of bell towers are tall buildings on a small foundation. So there's a no proportion, let's say, between height and the base. And the one behind me, that's a new building. The only new building we have in the square, copy of another one that we can in 1902. So that was rebuilt 10 years later. So that's a new building, but an exact replica of the previous one. The original tower, built in the 9th century, had a very different function. Lighthouse for the boats coming from the sea. Remember that until the 19th century, the city was isolated. The only entrance to the city was by boat, and the open sea is that way. So that was, for centuries, the only entrance to the city, and the boats needed a lighthouse and what else? A watch tower. The city was never conquered. The city, Venice became a part of Italy in 1866, so not a very long time ago. And the city had 11 centuries of independence. You know, this was a big empire. The nations conquered many places. And this was one of the wealthiest states in Europe. And this was very safe because it was protected by the shallow water of a lagoon. The water you see in Venice is a natural lagoon. A lagoon means 550 square kilometers, so very big. A lagoon means brackish water, sea, rivers, salt, fresh. But a lagoon means also deep and shallow waters. So in many parts of the lagoon, the water is very, very shallow. We have mud banks only. So the lagoon represented a protection when the only entrance to the city was by sea. So this was a safe place. And the architecture here in Venice is completely different from any other place. When you travel throughout Europe, you see walls, fortresses, castles everywhere, because in all the other places they needed a protection, but not in Venice. Here there was a natural protection. So if you look at the buildings, you see open spaces everywhere. We have a very open architecture, arches and the windows everywhere. So completely different. The architecture here is not rejected, but welcome. I said that the city had 11 centuries of independence, and this was a republic for 11 centuries. Okay, no leading families, but presidents. The presidents of the Republic of Venice had a title, Doge. So the name of that beautiful building is Doge. D-O-G-E, Doge, say in Italian. Doge was not a name, hope it's clear, but a title for the elected president of the Republic of Venice. So 11 centuries of a president, 11 centuries of a republic, as far as I know, the longest republics in the world. So that beautiful building is a museum nowadays, but that building used to be for the government. And you see pointed arches. The point going up means elevation to heaven. That's Gothic, but I don't want to bore you with the style. So let's say that that building was built between the 14th and the 15th century, so 600 to 700 years old. This is quite different. This is the public library, first in Europe, built in the 16th century. Same function, still in use, and this is a Renaissance building, Renaissance or Renaissance, as you wish. Now we walk to the square, so I can explain something about the church.
Live music. Live music হয় এখানে? বাহ, এটা ভালো।
It was founded between the 5th and the 7th century AD. So immediately after the fall of the Roman Empire, during the barbarian invasions, because this was a safe place. So refugees, sorry? No, absolutely. Never. It's much colder here because it's windy and we are in the do you prefer what do you prefer? Sun is better, okay. The wind over there, then you cannot see very well that building. So let me explain that building very quickly. That's the clock tower. Very practical name. There are two clocks. One of them is old, the other one cannot be very old. So you see the statue in the middle, on the left, the number, the hours, the Roman number. You see? 10. So 10. On the right, the minutes change every 5 minutes, not every minute. So now it will change at 10:45 and then 10:50, you see?
এটা চেঞ্জ হয়।
Digital clock, so it cannot be very old. So that was added after. But very old, the one below.
X10 লেখা আছে?
Universe.
এই যে এইটাই কোনাকুনি।
It means Earth in the center. And then moon, sun, stars, planets. And then 24-hour clock still working. 1499. Still working. Okay, let's move to the sun.
হ্যাঁ।
Each work is quite cold. So, okay, now May I show you and may I say something about that building? You know, the name of the square where we are is Saint Mark's. In Italian we say San Marco. Any Catholic in the group?
No, no.
If I say Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, one, it's okay, never mind. So the name of the church is Saint Mark's Basilica, built in the 11th century. Very famous for its mosaic decoration. The paintings you see on the facade, those are not paintings. Later on, if you get closer, you see that those are tiles, very tiny tiles, so mosaics, made of, they're all in glass, but they use two different techniques. The yellow color that you see in the background, that's 24 karat gold.
Okay.
So there's a very thin layer of a 24 karat gold placed between two layers of glass.
Okay.
Like a sandwich, very expensive sandwich. So glass, gold, glass again. Gold in between, glass on top. When you see color, you see the figures, that's colored glass, not painted. The color is in the glass and it doesn't change. Well, the ceiling inside is completely covered with mosaics. There are 8,000 square meters of mosaics, so very impressive. If you wish, during your free time, and now you have some free time, if you want to enter, you can. You don't pay, that's the main entrance. Normally there's a queue, but if you're patient, you just stay in line a little bit. But if you enter, remember that you cannot take pictures, cannot use your cameras, cannot talk loud. Of course, it's a working church, and they celebrate Mass every day, 5 times a day. So, of course, need respect. But you can enter, and you can enjoy the beauty of that building. The buildings you see around the square used to be government buildings. Nowadays, most of them are museums. You see the banners. Some of them are offices and factories, you know, private homes, places. So private homes everywhere, just behind the square, but not here in the not in the square. And that building is very important. Why? Because if you walk through there, you find the public toilet. I don't know, but that's something very important, okay? So you find the public toilets, you find the post office in case you need, I don't know, to buy stamps. And you know public toilets, you know how much you pay, don't you? 150, okay? 150. The main street is that way. Remember the clock tower? You walk through there and you find the main street. I didn't say the most expensive one. That's the main street, and there are many shops everywhere on both sides of the street. Some of them are very expensive, some of them are not. The most expensive one, brands, Chanel, Vuitton, is that way. Okay, so that's the Temptation Street. Okay, but that's the main street. If you keep walking, not very long, and you follow the signs. Remember, we have on the buildings of the square, on the buildings, just above the shop windows, let's say, we have signs. They have a yellow background, they show you the way. So if you keep walking that way and you follow the sign pointing Rialto, R-I-A-L-T-O, you'll get to the Rialto Bridge, the most important bridge we have in Venice, on the Grand Canal. The Grand Canal is the most important canal we have in Venice, so you can enjoy part of the Grand Canal and the Rialto Bridge, okay? Then, of course, if you decided to walk to the Rialto, you have to come back to the square. So you have to follow the signs.
খেতে চাইছে
If you You better skip this way. Don't stay here because I hear the pigeons everywhere. Okay. So is everything clear? Okay.
I have two questions.
Yes, please.
The gold